She kicked him. Right there, in front of everyone. A white woman in a designer blazer kicked a 72-year-old black man in the shin while he knelt outside a Mercedes-Benz showroom. Then she leaned down and spat on him, on his jacket, in broad daylight, in Buckhead, Atlanta. His name did not matter to her. The only thing she saw was an old black man in a worn jacket standing too close to $100,000 cars. So she removed him, like trash on a sidewalk. But here is what she did not know. What nobody on that sidewalk knew. In 6 hours, that man would buy the entire dealership, cash, and her career would be over before the sun went down. If you have ever been looked at like you do not belong, drop a comment now. Stay to the end. What this man does next is the most satisfying thing you will hear all week. A black man on his knees outside a Mercedes dealership while a white woman stands over him like trash. I'm Vance Narrator. And real talk, this one had me messed up for days before I could even finish writing it. Let me take you back to that morning. But let us go back. Back before the spit, before the kick, before any of it. Let us start at 7 o'clock in the morning in a quiet brick house on a tree-lined street in Decatur, Georgia. Elijah Montgomery, Eli to the people who loved him, was 72 years old. He woke up at 6 every morning, same as he had for the last 50 years. Black coffee, oatmeal with honey. NPR playing softly from a radio in the kitchen that was older than some of his grandchildren. He stepped out onto the porch in his slippers and watered the rose garden. His late wife, Lorraine, planted those roses 15 years ago, red and white alternating along the front walkway. He had kept every single one alive since she passed 3 years ago. It was the one promise he never broke. The house was large, but you would not guess it from the outside. Old brick, wide porch, shelves of books visible through every window. No flashy cars in the driveway, no gate, no sign of what the man inside was actually worth. Because here's the thing about Elijah Montgomery. He spent 40 years building a private equity firm called Montgomery Capital Group, bought companies, sold companies, built a portfolio worth over $1 billion. Then 5 years ago, he sold his majority stake and retired. Net worth north of $600 million, and you would never know it by looking at him. This morning he opened the desk drawer in his study. Inside was a folder he had kept for 3 years. The tab read, Lorraine's Car. He opened it slowly. Inside, a printed brochure for a Mercedes-Benz S580, a bank letter confirming available liquid funds, and a small handwritten note in Lorraine's handwriting. Just one line. Silver, with the cream interior. She had always wanted that car. They talked about it for years. He always said next year. And then there were no more next years. Today he was going to buy it for her anyway. At 8:45, his neighbor, Miss Etta, pulled into the driveway in her old Buick. She was 78, sharp as a tack, and had known Eli and Lorraine for over 30 years. She was driving him to the dealership because Eli's own car was in the shop. She adjusted her phone on the dashboard mount as Eli climbed in. "You know I record everything now," she told him. "My granddaughter Keisha showed me how. You never know when you need proof of something." Eli smiled. "You recording me buying a car?" "I'm recording everything, baby. The world is crazy." They drove through Buckhead in comfortable silence. Eli looked out the window at the row of luxury dealerships, glass buildings, polished concrete, flags snapping in the wind. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said softly, "Lorraine and I came here once, 20 years ago. Salesmen would not even look at us. We drove to Alabama and bought the car there." Miss Etta shook her head. "Some things change, some things don't." They pulled into the lot at Prestige Motors of Buckhead at 9:30 a.m., a gleaming Mercedes-Benz dealership, floor-to-ceiling glass, silver cars lined up like soldiers. Miss Etta stayed in the car. "I'll be right here, baby. Take your time." Eli stepped out, adjusted his canvas jacket, tucked the folder into his inside pocket, took a deep breath, and started walking toward the entrance. Inside the showroom, a young black sales associate named Davis Cole noticed the older man approaching. Davis had been working at Prestige for 3 months. He started moving toward the door to greet him. But someone stepped in front of Davis before he could get there. Eli was 15 steps from the door, 15 steps from the car his wife dreamed about. He did not know it yet. He was not going to make it through. The glass doors swung open before Eli reached them, but not for him. A woman stepped out, tailored blazer, blowout hair, Bluetooth earpiece blinking in her right ear. She planted herself directly in front of the entrance and crossed her arms. Her name was Karen Whitfield. She was 38 years old and the general manager of Prestige Motors. She had held the position for 18 months. She was promoted because she moved inventory faster than anyone else in the region. She was also the subject of 2 prior discrimination complaints, both of which had been quietly settled with non-disclosure agreements. Nobody was ever disciplined. Nobody was ever fired. Karen did not greet Eli. She assessed him. Her eyes traveled from his scuffed loafers to his canvas jacket to his reading glasses tucked in the breast pocket. The entire evaluation took 3 seconds. She made her decision in 2. "Can I help you?" she said, but the tone did not say, "Can I help you?" The tone said, "You do not belong here." It was the voice of a woman who had already decided who he was, not based on what he said, not based on what he carried, based on the color of his skin and the age on his face and the wrinkles in his jacket. Eli smiled politely. "Good morning. I'm here to look at the S-Class sedans." Karen did not move. "The S-Class starts at $120,000. Do you have an appointment?" "I don't need an appointment to look at a car." Karen tilted her head. Behind her, through the glass, a white couple in designer sunglasses walked freely into the showroom. No one asked them for an appointment. No one blocked the door. "Sir, the showroom is by appointment only today. I'm going to need you to leave the property. This is private property." Eli kept his composure. "Ma'am, I drove 40 minutes to be here. I would like to speak with a salesperson." Karen uncrossed her arms only to point toward the street. "I am the general manager, and I am telling you, we don't have anything for you here." The words landed with their full weight. "We don't have anything for you here." That sentence was not about inventory. It was not about appointments. It was about the color of his skin and the condition of his shoes. And both of them knew it. Eli held her gaze for a long moment, then he turned to leave. Not out of submission, out of dignity. He would not beg to spend his own money. But as he turned, Karen grabbed his elbow. She gripped it hard and steered him toward the curb like he was a shoplifter being escorted out. He stumbled. The folder slipped from his jacket pocket and hit the pavement. Pages scattered. The brochure, the bank letter, and the Rain's handwritten note face up on the asphalt. Silver with the cream interior. He bent down to pick it up. Karen stood over him with her arms crossed. She did not help. She did not apologize. She looked down at him the way you look at something stuck to your shoe. A 72-year-old black man on his knees in front of a car dealership. In America. In 2024. "Don't come back." And then she did the one thing that would turn a quiet Tuesday morning into the worst day of her life. Okay, hold on. I need you to really sit with this for a second. Right now, a 72-year-old man is on his knees on a sidewalk picking up his dead wife's handwriting off the ground. And the woman who put him there is standing over him with her arms crossed, not helping, not apologizing, nothing. I know you're already angry. Trust me, I am too. But what happens next is the part that had me staring at my screen at 2 in the morning. Eli was still crouching on the pavement. His fingers were reaching for Lorraine's note when Karen Whitfield stepped forward and kicked him in the shin. Not a nudge, not an accident, a deliberate, sharp kick with the pointed toe of a leather heel. The sound of his knee hitting the concrete was the kind of sound that makes strangers stop walking. A dull crack, a sharp intake of breath. His body folded sideways. The pages of his folder fanned across the asphalt. The Mercedes brochure landed in a puddle. The bank letter skidded under a parked car. And Lorraine's note, that small, gentle piece of paper with her handwriting, landed face down in the dirt. 2 customers near the entrance froze mid-step. A valet attendant named Marco turned around so fast he dropped a set of keys. And inside the showroom, behind the glass, Davis Cole pressed his hand against the window. His mouth was open, but no sound came out. Eli braced himself on the ground with one hand. He started to push himself up, slowly, painfully. And that is when Karen Whitfield leaned forward and spat on him. The saliva landed on the shoulder of his canvas jacket. In broad daylight, in front of witnesses, on a 72-year-old black man who had done nothing but ask to look at a car. There are moments that divide a story into before and after. This was one of them. Time seemed to slow down. Eli looked at the wet spot on his shoulder. Then he looked up at Karen. He did not shout. He did not swing. He did not say a word. Instead, he straightened his jacket. He picked up every single page of his folder. He found Lorraine's note and brushed the dirt off with his thumb. He stood to his full height, 6'2", even at 72, and he looked Karen Whitfield dead in the eyes. She did not flinch. She smiled. And tell your friends, this isn't that kind of dealership. Eli turned his back to her and walked toward the Buick. His stride was steady, his face was stone, but his hands were shaking, and the place on his shin where she kicked him was already starting to bruise. Behind him, Karen adjusted her blazer and walked back through the glass doors like nothing had happened, triumphant, in control. She had no idea that her entire world was about to collapse, because the witnesses were already moving. Marco, the valet, pulled out his phone and started recording Karen as she disappeared inside. He caught her face clearly, the blazer, the earpiece, the smug expression. He did not know what he would do with the video yet, but he kept recording. 2 women standing near a black SUV were visibly shaken. One of them already had her phone out and was typing. Just watched a dealership manager spit on an elderly man in Buckhead. I am shaking right now. She posted it before she reached her car. Inside the showroom, Davis Cole stood frozen by the window. His hands were trembling. He opened a text to his girlfriend and typed 4 words. Something terrible just happened. And 30 feet away, mounted on the dashboard of Miss Etta's Buick, her phone had been recording the entire time. Through the windshield. 68 seconds. Every single moment. Miss Etta did not even realize it yet, but that phone had just captured the most important 68 seconds of the entire day. Eli opened the passenger door and sat down. He closed the door. He did not speak. Miss Etta looked at him. She saw the dirt on his trousers, the wet stain on his shoulder, the way he held the folder against his chest like it was the last thing he had. "Baby, what happened? Are you okay?" Silence. A long silence. Then Eli spoke, calmly, quietly, like a man who has already made a decision. "Etta, hand me your phone." He did not call the police. He did not call a lawyer. Not yet. He called his son. "Raymond, I need you to find out who owns Prestige Motors of Buckhead. The parent company, the holding group, everything. And Raymond, I need it by noon. Raymond Montgomery was 44 years old, Harvard-trained attorney, sharp, protective, and fiercely loyal to his father. He rarely lost his composure. But when Eli told him what happened on that sidewalk, the block, the kick, the spit, Raymond went quiet. And when Raymond Montgomery went quiet, somebody was about to have a very bad day. Raymond moved fast. By 10 a.m., he had the full picture. Prestige Motors of Buckhead was owned by a company called Harmon Automotive Group, run by a man named Gerald Harmon, 63 years old. Old money dealership family, 8 locations across the Southeast. On paper, a thriving empire. In reality, a house of cards held together with debt and denial. But here was the part that mattered. Harmon had been quietly trying to sell the Buckhead dealership for 6 months. The location was over-leveraged, $22 million in debt, declining sales, a lease renewal coming due in 90 days. The books were ugly. The balance sheet was worse. Gerald Harmon needed a buyer the way a drowning man needs a rope. Raymond called his father back. "Dad, the dealership is basically already on the market. Harmon has been shopping it around, asking $28 million. He would probably take 22. It is distressed." There was a pause on the line. The kind of pause that meant Eli was doing math in his head. The kind of math most people never have to do. "Offer him 20, cash. Closing today." Raymond took a breath. Today? Today. Now let me tell you what Karen Whitfield did not know. What almost nobody outside a very small circle in Atlanta knew. The quiet man in the canvas jacket, the man she kicked and spat on, the man she told, "We don't have anything for you here." That man had a net worth north of $600 million. Elijah Montgomery did not shop for cars. He bought companies, and $20 million was what he would call a Tuesday. While Eli and Raymond were building their plan, something else was happening across town. Miss Etta got home and told her granddaughter Keisha what happened. Keisha was 22, social media fluent, and furious. She grabbed her grandmother's phone and scrolled to the video file. Grandma, do you know what you recorded?" The clip was 68 seconds long, shot through the windshield, slightly shaky but completely clear. You could see everything. Karen blocking the door, the shove, the kick, the spit. The old man picking up his papers from the ground while a woman in a blazer stood over him like he was nothing. With Miss Etta's permission, Keisha posted it everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. The caption read, "This Mercedes dealership manager in Buckhead just kicked and spit on my 72-year-old neighbor. Please share." By 10:45, the video had 50,000 views. By 11 o'clock, 200,000. And climbing. Marco the valet's video surfaced separately. This one showed Karen's face clearly as she walked back inside the showroom, adjusting her blazer, smiling. The two clips cross-pollinated across every platform. By 11 a.m., the internet had Karen Whitfield's name, her LinkedIn profile, and her employer. By noon, her phone would be ringing non-stop, but the call that would end her career had not been made yet. That call was about to come from a 72-year-old man who was already in his car, driving across town to finish what she started. The video crossed 1 million views by noon. The hashtag Prestige Motors was trending in Atlanta by 11:15 and nationally by 11:40. The comments section was a flood. Thousands of people sharing their own stories of being profiled at dealerships, at jewelry stores, at hotels. Thousands more simply writing the same thing. "This is disgusting. Fire her." What is wrong with these people? One tweet from a verified account read, "I bought 3 cars from Prestige Motors. Never again." It was reposted 40,000 times in 2 hours. A local pastor posted a video calling for a boycott. A civil rights organization in Atlanta released a formal statement demanding accountability. Then the review bombing started. Prestige Motors' Google rating dropped from 4.3 stars to 1.2 stars before lunch. One-star reviews poured in faster than the platform could moderate them. Racist management. Never going here. How do you spit on a grandfather and sleep at night? People started showing up in person. A small crowd gathered on the sidewalk outside the dealership with phones out, recording the building, waiting for something to happen. They could feel it. Something was coming. At 11:30 a.m., Gerald Harmon finally saw the video. He was in his office at Harmon Automotive Headquarters when his assistant brought him a phone with the clip already playing. He watched it twice. The color left his face. He called Karen immediately. "What the hell did you do?" Karen was defensive. "He was loitering, Gerald. I handled it." "You spat on a 70-year-old man on camera. Do you have any idea what—" He did not finish the sentence. He hung up. Harmon's attorney told him to fire Karen immediately and issue a full apology. But Karen's contract had a termination clause. Firing her without board-approved cause meant paying $200,000 in severance. Gerald Harmon did not want to spend that money. So he stalled. He released a statement that said absolutely nothing. "We are aware of an incident at our Buckhead location and are conducting an internal review. We are committed to providing a welcoming environment for all customers." No name, no apology, no acknowledgement of the video. The internet tore it apart within minutes. While the world raged, Eli was calm, but he was not sitting still. At noon, he drove himself to Raymond's law office in Midtown Atlanta. He walked in with the folder still in his jacket. He sat down at Raymond's desk, and he picked up the phone. He dialed Harmon Automotive Group's main number himself. The receptionist answered. Eli spoke in a voice that was steady, measured, and carried the quiet authority of a man who had closed 1,000 deals. "This is Elijah Montgomery. I would like to speak with Gerald Harmon, personally. Tell him it is about Prestige Motors, and tell him it is urgent." Harmon did not take the call. His attorney intercepted it. That was fine. Eli turned to Raymond. "Get his lawyer on the line. Here is the offer. $20 million, cash, full close today. Escrow deposit wires within the hour. I will wait." Raymond made the call with Eli sitting right beside him, listening on speaker. Harmon's attorney sounded cautious. "We will need to discuss this internally. Give us an hour." Eli leaned toward the speaker. "You have 20 minutes. The longer you wait, the less that building is worth. I will be right here." He leaned back in the chair. Raymond stared at him. Eli shrugged. The video was a nightmare for Gerald Harmon, but for the man sitting in that law office, it was a gift. Because a desperate seller and a motivated buyer can close deals that normally take months in a matter of hours. And Elijah Montgomery had been closing deals like this for 40 years. He did not need Raymond to fight for him. He needed Raymond to keep up. By 12:30, local news crews were parked outside the Buckhead dealership. A reporter did a live broadcast from the exact spot where Eli's knee had hit the concrete. Inside the showroom, Davis Cole stood by the window with shaking hands. He pulled up his phone and began typing a detailed, time-stamped account of everything he had witnessed that morning. He did not send it. Not yet, but he saved it. The original video hit 3 million views. A cable news network picked it up. The chyron across the bottom of the screen read, "Mercedes dealership manager caught on camera assaulting elderly customer." At 12:52 p.m., Gerald Harmon's attorney called Raymond Montgomery back. Not in an hour, not in 20 minutes, in 12. Eli had been right, and the number they came back with was going to change everything. Harmon's attorney countered at 25 million. Raymond started to respond, but Eli held up his hand. He took the phone himself. "Let me make this simple," Eli said, his voice low and unhurried. "Your client's dealership lost half its Google rating in 2 hours. There are news vans in his parking lot. By tomorrow morning, that building will be worth less than it is right now. 20 million. Cash. Today. That is not a negotiation. That is a courtesy. The attorney asked for more time. Eli did not give it. You have until 2 o'clock. After that, I am holding a press conference instead, and I will have a lot more to say than your client wants me to. He hung up. Raymond stared at him. Eli looked at his son and said, "What? I have been doing this since before you were born." The pressure worked because Eli's threat was not a bluff. He did not need this deal. He had 600 million reasons to walk away and pursue accountability through the courts, the media, or both. The Gerald Harmon needed the exit, and Eli had just made sure Harmon knew exactly who he was dealing with. While father and son waited for the callback, the internet was doing what the internet does. It was digging. Someone found the 2022 case. A black couple had been turned away from Prestige Motors 2 years earlier. They could not speak publicly because they had signed a non-disclosure agreement as part of a settlement. But a friend of the couple posted a thread on Twitter confirming the incident. Old text messages were screenshotted and shared. The thread went viral within the hour. Then a former Prestige Motors employee posted anonymously on Reddit. "I worked at Prestige for 8 months," the post read. "Karen told us on day 1, focus your energy on qualified prospects." You know what I mean. Everyone knew what she meant. Then another voice, a Latino veteran, posted a TikTok from his living room. "This happened to me in 2023. Same dealership, same woman. I filed a complaint. They paid me to shut up. I signed a paper and I kept quiet. But I am done being quiet now." One video. That was all it took. One 68-second video and the dam broke. Years of silenced complaints, buried settlements, coded language, all of it rushing to the surface in a single afternoon. Inside the dealership, Davis Cole was watching it all unfold. He saw the crowd growing outside, the news vans. He read the Reddit post and recognized the story as true. He had heard that same phrase in his first week, qualified prospects. He knew exactly what it meant. Davis made a decision. He opened his time-stamped written account on his phone. He had been working on it since the morning. Now he added one final detail. One detail that changed everything. Before going outside to confront the customer, Karen Whitfield received a text message from the lot attendant. I was standing close enough to see her read it. She looked at her phone, then immediately walked toward the front door. The text said, "Heads up, guy walking in doesn't look like a buyer." She went outside to stop him before he even reached the entrance. This was not a woman who lost her temper. This was a coordinated, premeditated act of racial profiling. She was tipped off. She made a decision. And she went outside to remove a black man from the premises before he could set foot in her showroom. Davis took a breath. Then he emailed his account to 3 people. His personal email for backup, a civil rights attorney he found online, and the reporter who was standing in the parking lot right outside the building. Then he walked to the break room. He clocked out. He was done. Back at Raymond's office, the picture was getting clearer by the minute. Raymond briefed his father on what the internet had uncovered. The NDA settlements, the coded language, the pattern. Eli listened quietly. When Raymond finished, Eli spoke. "Add a condition to the offer. All existing non-disclosure agreements related to discrimination complaints are voided as part of the sale. Those people get to tell their stories." Raymond hesitated. "Dad, that could complicate the deal." Eli looked at his son. "Add it, or there is no deal." Raymond added the condition. He sent it to Harmon's attorney. At 1:52 p.m., Gerald Harmon read the revised offer. $20 million, cash, closing today. And one new clause. All NDAs related to discrimination claims would be voided upon transfer of ownership. The silenced victims would be free to speak. It was the one condition Harmon did not want to accept. But the video was at 5 million views and climbing. A news helicopter was circling his dealership. His lender was calling every 15 minutes, and the man on the other end of that offer had made it clear. The alternative was litigation, public exposure, and financial ruin. Gerald Harmon did not have a choice, and somewhere in that moment, he knew it. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Karen Whitfield realized she was being sacrificed. She had seen the news coverage. She had read the comments. She knew Harmon was negotiating behind her back, and she was not going down alone. She called Gerald Harmon directly. Her voice was ice. "If I go down, I am taking you with me. I have every email, every directive. You told me to run the floor my way. You signed off on those NDAs. You buried those complaints personally." Harmon panicked. If Karen went to the press before the deal closed, she could reframe the entire story. She could become the scapegoat who turns whistleblower, and that could scare off the buyer entirely. Harmon's attorney called Raymond's office. Eli was still sitting across the desk when the phone rang. The attorney's voice was tense. "We may have a complication." Eli heard every word on speaker. His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Not yet. Raymond stepped out to take another call, and for the first time all day, Eli was alone. He sat in the quiet of his son's office. The afternoon light came through the blinds in thin stripes. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the folder, opened it, found Lorraine's note. The paper was wrinkled now, dirt-stained from the pavement. There was a footprint on one corner, from Karen's shoe, on his wife's handwriting, on the only thing he had left of her voice. He held the note to his chest, and he spoke to her, quietly, the way you speak to someone you still love, even though they are gone. "I just wanted to buy you the car, baby. That's all I wanted to do today." He closed his eyes, and for a moment the audience does not see a billionaire. They do not see a deal maker or a man with a plan. They see a 72-year-old widower who misses his wife so much it hurts to breathe. A man who was humiliated on a public sidewalk while trying to honor the woman he loved. Raymond came back in. He saw his father's face, the note pressed against his chest, the closed eyes. He sat down across from him and spoke softly. "Dad, we don't have to do this. We can walk away." The silence lasted a long time. Then Eli opened his eyes. He folded the note carefully, put it back in his pocket. And when he spoke, his voice was different, harder, quieter. The voice of a man who has made his final decision. "Give me the phone." "Dad, give me the phone, Raymond." Eli dialed Harmon's attorney directly. When the man answered, Eli did not wait for pleasantries. "This is Elijah Montgomery. Put Gerald Harmon on the line. Right now." Shuffling, silence. Then Harmon's voice, tight, tired, defeated before the conversation even started. "Mr. Montgomery, Mr. Harmon, I'm going to say this once. If this deal is not signed by 3:30, I am not buying your dealership. I am suing you, personally, for everything, and I will fund every single one of those people you silenced to do the same. You have 1 hour to decide what the rest of your life looks like." He hung up. Raymond stared at his father. "You sure about this?" Eli looked at the folder on the desk. The dirt, the footprint, Lorraine's handwriting underneath it all. "Your mother never walked away from anything in her life. I am not starting now." 43 minutes later, the phone rang. Harmon's attorney, voice flat. "Mr. Harmon accepts. 20 million. ND is voided. He will sign today." Eli picked up a pen. Raymond slid the letter of intent across the desk. Eli read every line, slowly, deliberately. Then he signed his name, Elijah A. Montgomery. The document was scanned and sent. Gerald Harmon countersigned at 2:58 p.m. The escrow wire, $20 million, cleared at 3:08 p.m. Eli watched the confirmation appear on Raymond's screen. He nodded once. At 3:08 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, Elijah Montgomery became the owner of the building where it happened. The same building where he was kicked and spat on that morning. He did not celebrate. He did not smile. He reached into his pocket, touched Lorraine's note, and said 5 words. "Now, take me to my dealership." All right, I gotta be real with you for a second. That line, "I just wanted to buy you the car," that one broke me. My grandfather drove a car he hated for 11 years because the one dealership in town that had what he wanted wouldn't give him the time of day. Never told anyone. My grandma told me after he was gone. He just kept his dignity folded up quiet, like a note he couldn't throw away. Eli had the money to do what my grandfather never could. But that pain in that office, holding his wife's handwriting with a shoe print on it, exact same pain. The reporter standing outside Prestige Motors checked her email at 3:02 p.m. and found Davis Cole's message. She read his time-stamped account twice. The detail about the text message changed everything. This was not a manager who snapped in the moment. This was a woman who received a tip, made a decision, and walked outside to remove a black man before he could enter the building. Premeditated. Coordinated. Racial profiling by design. The reporter ran the story on the 3 o'clock broadcast. Davis's name was withheld, but his account was quoted extensively. The anchor described it as evidence of a coordinated effort to exclude customers based on appearance. Social media erupted again. The video was now at 7 million views. At 3:15, Raymond's legal team made their first move as the new ownership. They requested immediate access to Prestige Motors' security systems. What they found was staggering. The exterior security cameras had been switched to maintenance mode at 9:33 a.m. that morning, 12 minutes before the incident. Someone inside the dealership had deliberately disabled them. The timing was not coincidental. Someone knew what was about to happen and tried to make sure there would be no official record. But here is what Karen Whitfield and Gerald Harmon did not know. The security system had an automatic cloud backup. Every camera, every angle backed up to an off-site server that most of the staff did not even know existed. The IT contractor who installed the system had set it up as a failsafe. It ran silently in the background. Raymond's team accessed the cloud backup. The footage was crystal clear, high angle, time-stamped. You could see Karen blocking the entrance at 9:35, the shove at 9:40. Eli bending down to pick up his papers, the kick at 9:42, the spit at 9:43. And before all of it, at 9:34, there was Karen, standing inside the showroom, reading a text on her phone, then immediately walking toward the front door. The footage was devastating. It showed everything that Miss Etta's video showed, but from a different angle, with higher resolution, and with one crucial addition: a timestamp. An official system-generated timestamp from the dealership's own security infrastructure. No one could claim it was doctored. No one could claim it was taken out of context. The dealership's own cameras had recorded its own manager assaulting a customer, and the dealership's own system had preserved it. 3 separate video recordings. Miss Etta's dashboard camera, Marco, the valet's phone, and now the dealership's own security system. From 3 different angles, at 3 different distances, all telling the exact same story. Raymond downloaded the footage, saved it to an encrypted drive. This was the kill shot, if they needed it, and they would need it. By 3:30, the NDA clause in the acquisition agreement was already taking effect. Raymond contacted the attorneys representing the 2 prior victims, the black couple from 2022, the Latino veteran from 2023. Both had been silenced by settlements and non-disclosure agreements. Both had been carrying their stories for years with no way to tell them. The couple released a statement through their attorney. "We were turned away from Prestige Motors because of the color of our skin. We were paid to stay silent. Today, we are free to tell the truth." The veteran, who had already posted his TikTok earlier that day and gained 60,000 followers, recorded a second video. "I filed a complaint. They buried it. This man, Mr. Montgomery, he just unburied it. Thank you, sir. You did what I couldn't." The video racked up 2 million views in 3 hours. The comments were full of veterans sharing their own experiences with discrimination, full of people tagging news outlets and demanding coverage. The story was no longer about one man and one dealership. It was becoming something larger, something the system could not ignore. The pattern was now public, sourced, documented, undeniable. 3 separate incidents, 3 separate victims, same dealership, same manager, same playbook. Silence them, pay them off, move on. Except this time, the man they targeted had the resources to burn the playbook entirely. At 4 p.m., Eli was still at Raymond's office. He walked to the restroom and looked at himself in the mirror. The stain on his canvas jacket, the saliva. He took the jacket off, folded it carefully. Beneath it, he was wearing a clean-pressed shirt, simple, white, dignified. Not a power suit. He did not need one. He just needed to be himself. He walked back out. Raymond was waiting. "Dad, legally the transfer is effective. You own Prestige Motors. What do you want to do?" Eli touched the note in his pocket. "I want to go to my dealership, and I want to see a silver S580, cream interior." They drove to Buckhead together, the same route Eli had taken that morning with Miss Etta, the same streets, the same skyline, but everything was different now. They passed the news vans, still parked outside, the small crowd still gathered on the sidewalk. Eli looked at the building through the car window. His building now. 6 hours ago, he could not get through the front door. Now, he owned every door in the building. Raymond parked in the lot. Eli straightened his shirt. He looked at the entrance one more time. Then he opened the car door and stepped out. He walked toward the front entrance for the second time that day, but this time, nobody was going to stop him. The crowd saw him first. Someone near the sidewalk looked up from their phone, looked at the man walking across the parking lot, and froze. "That's him," she whispered. Then louder, "That's him! That's the man from the video!" Phones came out everywhere. Live streams started. A murmur passed through the crowd, then silence. Then a single person started clapping. It spread. 30 people, then 50, then the whole sidewalk. Some people were crying. Some were recording. Some just stood there with their hands over their mouths because they could feel it. Something was happening. Something big. Eli nodded to the crowd. He did not stop. He did not wave. He did not slow down. He walked toward the entrance with Raymond beside him, carrying a leather folder with the signed acquisition documents. His white shirt was pressed and clean. His stride was steady. His face held no anger and no triumph. Just purpose. Have you ever watched someone walk through a door that was closed to them? There's something about that moment, something ancient and powerful, something that does not need words. The glass doors of Prestige Motors opened, and Elijah Montgomery walked through them. The same doors Karen Whitfield had blocked that morning with her body and her blazer and her contempt. The same doors she told him never to come back through. The same doors that 6 hours ago had been the boundary between him and his wife's dream. Now he walked through them like he owned the place. Because he did. The showroom floor went silent. It happened in a wave. starting from the staff closest to the entrance and rolling backward through the building. Sales associates stopped mid-sentence. Managers looked up from their desks. A receptionist dropped a pen. Everyone had seen the video by now. 10 million people had seen that video, and every single person in that building knew exactly who the man in the white shirt was. Davis Cole was standing near the back of the showroom. He had come back after hearing what was happening. He could not stay away. His eyes were wet. His jaw was tight. He nodded at Eli. Eli nodded back. A small acknowledgement between two men who had shared the worst morning of their lives. Karen Whitfield was in her office, door closed, blinds drawn. She had been in there most of the afternoon, watching the comment counts rise on her phone, feeling the walls close in around her. She could hear something happening outside her door, the sudden quiet, the shuffling, the muffled sound of the crowd through the glass. But she did not yet know what it meant. She did not know that the man she had kicked and spat on that morning was standing on the other side of that door, in his showroom, waiting for her. Outside, someone in the crowd was live-streaming Eli's entrance through the glass windows. The stream jumped to 40,000 concurrent viewers within minutes. The comments moved so fast they blurred. He just walked back in. What is happening? I cannot stop watching this. This is the greatest thing I have ever seen on the internet. Somebody tell me what is going on in there. The original video was now at 10 million views. It would hit 14 million by midnight. But right now, in this moment, the only number that mattered was one. One man, standing in the center of the showroom. The same showroom he had been barred from entering 6 hours ago. Standing right where the S-Class sedans were on display. Standing right where Lorraine's dream had lived for 3 years on a brochure page. Eli looked around slowly. He took it all in. The polished floors, the gleaming cars, the staff in a frozen semicircle, the light pouring through the windows, the muffled cheering from outside. Then he turned to Raymond and said 3 words. Get her out here. Raymond walked to Karen's office. He knocked once, opened the door without waiting for an answer. Ms. Whitfield, your presence is needed on the showroom floor. Karen came out irritated. She was already composing a response in her head. Some excuse, some deflection, some way to maintain control. Then she saw him. Eli was standing in the middle of the showroom. Clean white shirt, hands at his sides, looking directly at her. Recognition hit her like a freight train. The blood drained from her face. She looked at Raymond, looked at Eli, looked at the staff standing in silence around them. She looked at the phones pressed against the glass windows from outside. What is this? Raymond spoke clearly, loud enough for every person in the room, loud enough for every live stream microphone picking up sound through the windows. Ms. Whitfield, my name is Raymond Montgomery. I am an attorney representing Montgomery Capital Trust. As of 3:08 this afternoon, Montgomery Capital Trust completed the acquisition of Prestige Motors of Buckhead from Harman Automotive Group. This dealership is now the property of my client. He paused, then he gestured to the man standing beside him. Mr. Elijah Montgomery. The man Karen spat on, the man she kicked, the man she told this is not that kind of dealership. He was standing in the showroom that he now owned, and he was looking right at her. Karen's mouth opened. Nothing came out. The reactions rippled across the room like a shock wave. A gasp from a sales associate near the front desk, a hand pressed over a mouth. Davis Cole standing in the back, pressing his fist to his lips to keep from breaking down. A security guard staring at the floor, shaking his head slowly. Eli stepped forward. His voice was steady, low. It carried the weight of 72 years, of a lifetime of being underestimated, of a morning he would never forget. This morning, you told me you didn't have anything for me here. He paused. Turns out, you had quite a lot. Then his voice shifted, not louder, harder. The voice of a man who has signed the paper and holds the pen. Ms. Whitfield, as the owner of this dealership, effective immediately, your employment is terminated. For cause. You have 15 minutes to collect your personal belongings and leave the premises. Karen's hand went to her mouth. You can't. I have a contract. Raymond stepped forward. Your contract contains a termination for cause clause covering gross misconduct, including assault of a customer. The assault is documented on 3 separate video recordings, including this dealership's own security cloud backup. Your severance is forfeited. If you wish to contest this, you are welcome to retain an attorney. I would recommend a good one. Karen stood frozen. The room was silent. She looked around for support, from the staff, from anyone. Nobody moved, nobody spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of the air conditioning and the muffled noise of the crowd outside. She walked to her office. She came out 4 minutes later carrying a cardboard box. The Bluetooth earpiece was still on the desk. She left it behind. She walked through the showroom, past the staff, past Raymond, past Eli, and out the front door. The same door she had blocked him from entering that morning. The crowd outside parted silently. Every phone was recording. She did not look up. She got in her car and drove away. There is no joy in watching someone's life unravel, but there is something necessary in watching consequences arrive. Consequences that were overdue by years, by victims, by silences that should never have been forced. Eli watched her leave. Then he turned around. Davis Cole was standing 10 feet away, tears running down his face. Eli walked over to him. Young man, I believe you tried to help me this morning. Davis could barely speak. Yes, sir. I'm sorry I didn't do more. Eli shook his head. You did enough. He paused. Now, I understand you work in sales? Davis wiped his eyes. Yes, sir. Good. I would like to buy a car. Silver S580, cream interior. Can you help me with that? Davis laughed through his tears. Yes, sir. I absolutely can. They walked together toward a silver Mercedes-Benz S580 sitting on the showroom floor. The crowd outside could see them through the glass. Someone started cheering. Then everyone was cheering. At 5:22 p.m., Elijah Montgomery sat down in a cream leather seat. He rested his hands on the steering wheel. He closed his eyes, and for the first time all day, he felt close to Lorraine. That evening, Eli made 3 decisions. First, the dealership would be renamed Montgomery Motors of Buckhead. The new sign would be up by the end of the week. Second, Davis Cole was promoted to sales manager, the first hire under new ownership. His first policy was simple: no appointments needed. Everyone who walks through that door gets greeted the same way. He printed it out and taped it to the front desk. Third, the NDAs were dead. The black couple from 2022 and the Latino veteran from 2023 were free to tell their stories publicly. And they did. Both filed their own lawsuits within the week. Gerald Harmon, stripped of his flagship dealership and publicly exposed, retained a crisis attorney. The Georgia Attorney General's office opened a preliminary inquiry into discriminatory lending practices across his remaining locations. Karen Whitfield was served with a civil lawsuit from Eli's legal team. A criminal complaint for misdemeanor assault was filed with the Buckhead precinct. Her LinkedIn profile was deleted by the end of the day. Her name would become a case study in corporate training seminars about what happens when prejudice meets accountability. That night, Eli drove the silver S580 home. He parked it in the driveway under the porch light. The same driveway Lorraine used to pull into after work. The same porch where they drank coffee on Sunday mornings. He hung a small framed photograph of Lorraine from the rearview mirror. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out her note. He smoothed it flat, gently with his thumb, tucked it into the sun visor. Silver with the cream interior. He sat in the driver's seat, engine off, hands on the wheel. The porch light caught the silver paint and made it glow. "Got your car, baby," he whispered. "Got the whole place." He smiled, closed his eyes, and sat with her for a while. He never drove it fast. He never needed to. He had already arrived. 2 weeks later, an email arrived at Raymond Montgomery's office. No sender name, no return address. The subject line read, "It's not just prestige." Attached were internal financing records from 6 other Harman automotive dealerships across 3 states. Interest rates, loan terms, demographic data. The same discriminatory patterns. The same playbook. Bigger scale. Raymond printed the pages. He drove to his father's house. He found Eli in the garden, watering Lorraine's roses. "Dad, we have got a problem. Or an opportunity." Eli took the pages, read them silently. Then he looked up at his son. "Put the coffee on, Raymond. We've got work to do." If this story hit you in the chest, smash that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment. Have you ever been judged before you even opened your mouth? Tell me your story. And if you want to see what Eli does with that email, part 2 is coming. You do not want to miss it.